and to those who are watching you. Once more, I say good afternoon to you. My name is Ayodiji Ajishope. And I tell you, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to be with you. Being with us this afternoon, wherever you may be, is not taken for granted at all because we're talking about time here. For giving us this 1 hour, we value it that you're giving us your time. Yes, as we do on Pendulum, as the program is, well, we talk about issues that has to do with us. And I mean each and every one of us in this Nigeria space. I hear there's hunger in the land. I hear there's anger in the land. It is good to acknowledge that. But what are we doing? What are we doing? I think with the Christian faith, say, what is in your hands? Kilo wa lọ́wọ́ ẹ. It is not possible that you don't have anything. When they say what is in your hand, it doesn't mean it is physically in your hand like this. So it is what you know. You understand? That then you will do a little bit more research to know more about it. I think we should start living smart. Yes. And improve our situation. We love to shout government, federal government. You know, we talk, sometimes we talk about the government. Sometimes we don't even talk about the local government chairman. I think we should change our attitude and ask ourselves, what is in your hands? In this regard, Yoruba say to Biba kuro ninu ise bushe. It is in this regard that I bring a specialist, yes, in agribusiness, but we are certainly going to focus. The topic this afternoon is harnessing Nigeria's livestock resources. It is certain that we cannot cover everything tonight, but we're going to be focusing on one or two specifics, and he will be breaking it down for us, how we can proceed, what is in your hand. It's a pleasure to have it with me in the studio this afternoon, not just an academic, but also a practitioner, Dr. Adedayo Shoshino. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio this afternoon, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. This issue came up, when the issue of the federal government said they were going to set up a ministry for livestock. Yes, be that as it may, some people disagreed, but people saw some wisdom in it. At least that will require some focus. I remember that Professor Ataru Jega, who is not a professional in that area, was made the chairman. That one itself is a riddle to me. That Ataru Jega is a professor of history, I think. Yeah. We made the chairman of such a technical committee. And even if they got technical people together, will you understand what they are saying? You understand the language they will speak? But he has submitted a report in that regard. My first question is this. Nigeria's livestock potentials, what are they? And of course, when you do an overview, I want us to narrow it down to our geopolitical zone, the Southwest.
Thank you, my presenter, my moderator, as well as the members of the public. I must say that it's a privilege for me to be here to talk about the opportunities in livestock industry, how we can harness it. Nigeria is well endowed all over the world. Among the countries in the world, Nigeria is well endowed. First and foremost, we have the population that is working for us. A population of over 200 million in terms of demand for animal protein is colossal. And because of that demand for animal protein, Nigeria stands a better chance or a serious market for any production. Secondly, the climate is favorable for livestock production from the south to the north, from the east to the west. The climate, we have climate weather that can produce anything as far as livestock industry is concerned. Number three, we can see that the policy, be that as in way, the policy and the structure is favorable to livestock production. We also see, in terms of intellectuals, the human resources that we have in Nigeria, the labor, also culminates to be at advantage to Nigeria. Then the vegetation we have from north to south, the vegetation favored livestock production. Also in terms of feed resources, the grains, the legumes, the tree crop, the shrubs, the streams, all those crops also favor, they're available. Even the crop residues in these industrial products, agro-industrial byproducts, All these are favorable that Nigeria can actually harness in terms of livestock production.
Are we taking advantage of this availability?
I must say that we are not taking much of the availability. To be frank, how much, what percentage of resources, GDP, comes from agriculture is very minute. How much exchange, foreign exchange, you derive from agricultural produce?
Is it ignorance or policy or what?
I must say at this time, it's not just the policy, it's not just the ignorance, but the system.
The system.
We don't have a system, a structure, a system that is workable. We don't have a system
that will support
our drive to improve the livestock industry, as well as to generate the appropriate resources, income from.
I remember the very first thing you told me the day I spoke with you was that in Ring Road, where they said that the chickens, that they do a 2 billion naira transaction there weekly. I was shocked.
Yes, when you talk of agribusiness investment, let me start with the poultry. Do you know in that poultry arena in Oluyole, the market is twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. And from that particular place, a lot of DO chicks leave that place to Republic of Benin, to Mali, to Togo, to Ghana.
Do we have records?
We have their records.
Their records?
Their records.
Who keeps those records? Government?
We have an association, okay, the National DO Chick Producers or Supply Association.
Okay.
The secretary was my friend, and you can get the information from him. How much of DO chicks leave that particular place on weekly basis, on monthly basis, and annual basis? You have close to about $200 million investment in that particular place.
DO chicks, are we maximizing it? Even that? They're just raking the top.
If the structure is provided, if there is organized market, I can tell you for free that the investment will be more than 5 times more than that what is currently being practiced. But there is no organization. The structure is not.
It is the
place.
people that are putting themselves together.
Exactly.
Just like a neighborhood association.
Exactly. But if there is a government support, infrastructural support, if there is policy support,
not organized.
The place is not well organized. It's organized, but it's not well organized.
Just do their thing by the roadside.
Exactly.
And all of that.
Exactly. Imagine we have a conducive environment.
Yeah.
Imagine you have a structured agribusiness hub.
Like the scout camp structure.
Something like that.
You know?
Something like that. Whereby anybody coming from diaspora, anybody coming from anywhere in Africa can harness the investment we have in DO chicks alone. The investment is enormous. And all the value chain actors will also have something to take home. The producers, the marketers, the suppliers, all the logistics. Those who are in logistic business,
yeah,
those who are in automation,
yeah,
those who are in equipment, those who are in production, those who are in, so many actors,
yeah,
that can get investment from that structure. But the structure is not there.
Policy, government policy, is it not something that attention should be paid to?
You see, there are policies and there are policies.
All right.
Policies are not sacrosanct. They still needs to be reviewed over time.
Yeah.
You cannot say the policy I put forward in 1960, it will still be relevant in the 20th century. It's not possible. And policies have to be dynamic.
Yeah.
What are the impediments to the successful implementation of those policies? Let's get to the root and find solution to it. And unless we have a working policy, a policy that is well giving us results, then our work done is zero.
In these tough times, where there is lamentations, there's no other way to put it, all over the place, the capacity of people to generate income and their purchasing power has gone down. In this agribusiness, what can what can the salary earners, the educated, especially the educated in quote now, educated people think agri is not good for them.
Well, that's a blatant lie that agri is not good for them. Yeah, you see,
they're a farmer.
Yeah, I think when we are growing up, the picture or the the kind of communication, the kind of media, the kind of presentation we had while growing up was agriculture is for poor people. Go to our textbooks those days. Look at the image they give poor people. A man, tattered looking man,
Bent
having
double.
hoe at his shoulder
And bent double.
and bent, old, worn out. But when you look at the kind of concept they give to a medical doctor, a medical doctor wears suits,
In the same
stethoscope in the same space. A pharmacist, a nurse is identical. Who among us will now want to look like that farmer that was presented? Something is wrong with the concept we have about agriculture, and it has to be changed.
When his administration came in Oyo State, he kept saying, and the thing struck me, agriculture, doing agric as part of our culture. You understand? What's the difference between agriculture and agribusiness?
No, the person that gave that culture is wrong. What is agriculture? Agriculture is the art and science of producing food for human consumption. The art and science of production of food, animals, crops, fisheries for human consumption. That is the definition I learned in secondary school about agriculture. But when you talk of agribusiness is a form of agriculture that is not just an art and science, but is a economic value for your effort that you put into production. Most of our agricultural production, or what I can call farmers, they don't see agriculture as a business. They see it as passion. And that's why they plant. Anyhow you can buy it, because they don't see it as a business. But in agribusiness, you see the cost of production. You evaluate the cost of production with a view of putting something to you to now have a value for your money. And that is agribusiness.
That is agribusiness. Because
Developing business of agriculture.
when you have culture behind agri, people tend to think agri practiced in a cultural manner.
No. That the definition is wrong from what we were taught in school.
Now, breaking it further down, what can we do now to enhance our income? You know, the elite, everybody that is educated is elite. And everybody lamenting. Purchasing power going down every day. What can we do? And do smart.
Yes. Well, thank you, my presenter. I must say at this critical time, agriculture, the inflation in the country, the devaluation in the country is opening new frontiers for agribusiness and agriculture.
Opening new frontiers.
Yes, I must tell you. Now, this is the time whereby anything you produce in Nigeria as agri-products can find markets abroad. Okay. And you can sell your product in dollars or euro now. Yeah. And you can see the effect. So whatever you are going to produce now, think of export. Think of how you can take your product export.
Bureaucratic bottleneck?
And that's why I said talk about the system initially. We just have to put up a system that will make agribusiness work in Nigeria.
I mean, those people that we are exporting to, they have their own standards. So why don't we just apply the standards here before we try to export?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's what
that we'll see that my product has value in export in European market. My product I'm producing anywhere in Oyo State, Ibadan or Kyogun has value in American market. And I must produce with that quality to meet the international standard. But I need a structure. I need a system that will make my produce meet up with international.
The structures and the systems we have in place are not fit for the era in which we are.
Sincerely, they are not fit. We need a robust structure that will make export easier.
Is on the concurrent list. Agric is not on the exclusive list. So what are the governors doing? For instance, in Oyo State, we have comparative advantage in some products. Cassava, for instance. So why don't we? I mean, for agriculture is not on the exclusive list. It is on the concurrent list. So what are the governors doing in this regard? What could they do? Let me not say what are they doing.
You see, I don't want to blame what is happening at the corridor of any governor or any person. But I'm still saying that we need to sit down and fashion a system.
Okay, what about stakeholders like you? What are you
Exactly.
stakeholders doing?
We need a system whereby all stakeholders, relevant stakeholders, will come into play and sit down and articulate a working system.
Are the stakeholders like you conscious of these challenges and what is being done in that regard?
Exactly. We are looking for a leader, someone, a charismatic leader, that will put the structure in place for all the stakeholders to bring in their inputs and actually meet up.
Not just a talk show.
Not just a talk show. Like what they are doing, and the Minister of, the newly proposed Minister of Livestock, Animal Husbandry,
Yeah.
fantastic, is emanated from the Presidential Livestock Initiative Committee proposed by the President, whereby Professor Jega happens to be the co-chairman, along with President Tinubu.
Yeah.
We now have the committee sitting down to fashion up ways of implementing the agenda. Remember, they have the National Livestock Plan, to execute the plan to improve the livestock husbandry in Nigeria. Now, one of the proposals in that write-up is for them to establish Ministry of Animal Husbandry and Resources. That's one. The second one is to have the Livestock Development Commission. The third one is to have the stakeholders conference or stakeholders commissioning of what to be done on quarterly basis to put the Ministry of Livestock on toe as to what they need to do to solve the clash between the crop farmers and the livestock farmers, and also to develop the agribusiness space in terms of the livestock enterprises, cattle, sheep, goats, fisheries, and the rest of them. These are the areas we want to put in, where the policy structure has to be formulated to make the business thrive.
Are they taking the states into or along?
Exactly. I think it's a national policy, and state is one of the key stakeholders.
Okay. Maybe
Local government, the local government are involved, all the artisans are involved, all the producers, the market women, and all the value chain actors are actually involved.
What can I do to add value to myself as, say, for instance, a salary earner, and I live in an apartment and I have a little space in my, at least I have my own space. What can I do in the agribusiness?
Thank you, my presenter. I think for now, there's an idea that says if you are not informed, you'll be deformed. Everybody is a farmer in Nigeria. Everybody. Whichever space you have, you can practice animal husbandry. Even if you're a tenant, a landlord, you can practice animal husbandry. It now depends on what type or class of animals you want to do.
Which one would be?
I must say that for now, because of the enormity and the challenge of animal protein, you can start with rabbitry. Rabbitry.
Wow, to break that down for us.
Rabbitry is just the art and science of raising rabbits for food, for man's use. You can involve having a little hutch or rabbitry house, whereby you can have one male to about 3 female, and you're in business.
In business, you say?
You're in business.
Break that down further. In business?
In business.
With those 3 rabbits?
It surprises that if you buy a matured rabbit, male and 3 female, maybe about 5 months old, the next month they can produce, and they have about 30 days gestation period.
30 days gestation.
Within a month, that's each of those female buck, the female adult female rabbit is called buck. It can produce at one kindling. It can give you minimum of 6 to 8. Minimum 6 to 8. Wow. You can now imagine if you have minimum of 6 times maybe 3, 18.
So what do I do with what I have now?
And every month, as soon as kindle the first month, the second month, allow it to rest, the third month, you serve again. So in a year, you can have about 4 or 5. If you now have 6 times 3, 18 times 5, that's almost about 90.
So how do I add value to it?
That means you have 90 uh, young, rabbits in a year.
90.
90.
How do I manage them to add value?
Well, I must say that you are taking me to the raising of rabbit. One, the meat of rabbit is well relished.
I grew up when we had those things.
Yes.
Very tender,
very
delicious
tender,
meat.
delicious meat.
And beautiful animals too.
Beautiful. Number two, the urine of rabbitry is very rich as organic fertilizer.
Urine.
Yes, it's called liquid fertilizer. It has appropriate nitrogen, phosphorus, and calcium ratio needed in organic fertilizer. You also have that the meat is the food itself, the feed. You don't need to go and import food or manufacture a lot of feed for them. You can start with local feed. You can start with local feed, Aspina africana,
grass.
all these grasses. All these grasses are enough
to sustain them.
You don't need to buy feed for them, especially at the local level.
That's low cost maintenance.
Yeah, sure. When you reduce the cost of production, you are increasing your profit, and that's exactly what I mean. Then they don't need a lot of medications. No, as long as the accommodation, the pen is healthy.
I knew that about
ventilation is okay, and you have a raised floor.
Yeah.
And all these insects does not affect them, and the predators do not affect them. Have a cage for them. You are good to go.
So, okay, I have a turnover of 19 a year.
If you have almost a turnover of 19 a year.
Certainly, I have enough protein for my family.
You have enough protein. You can even sell. At least each of them by maturity can go for as maybe 5,000, 6,000 per one. And you can imagine if you now add value, roast it.
Yeah.
You can see. You can even sell as one for at least 30,000 naira.
One?
Yes.
When you after adding value?
After adding value. Spice it very well.
So why won't I add value?
That's the essence I said. You must create an export promotion for your products in Nigeria. So imagine if all rabbits I produce in a cluster. You have a cluster about 50 farmers, and each of us has minimum of 50 rabbits to supply, and we have about 5,000 rabbits being exported to European market. You imagine how much is rabbitry that's well processed with a lot of spices. How much is going to will be sold?
It's a delicacy.
It's a delicacy.
Rabbit is a delicacy.
Rabbit is a delicacy. In the European market, American market.
Yeah.
So imagine if all our production, all our target is European market. So that farmer or those farmers in that cluster, they are not poor people. They are not.
They are certainly not.
Yeah. So if there is the system that is sustainable for all those rabbit farmers, the sky is the limit.
When you mention this system and structures, it dampens my spirit because what about stakeholders? What can stakeholders do? You identify a challenge and you identify solutions. What can the stakeholders do?
You see, like the rabbitry I was talking about, if you have a value chain and we want to create a market, an organized market, and how do we create an organized market? We run a school called Farmer Field School. As a facilitator, we teach them the rudiment of livestock production on fortnight basis. Yes, free of charge. And when you come, you have so much information at your disposal for raising, production, breeding, management, value addition of all the value chain livestock.
I am surprised that Ibadan, designed by the colonial masters and as Nigeria's intellectual capital, look at the number of tertiary institutions, look at the research institutions all over the place. Are we making the best of them, or what's the situation?
I must say that Nigeria as a country, we don't value our intellectuals. We don't give them a lot of respect and the accolade necessary. Go and find out most of these breakthroughs, all those research findings. They are all in the shelf. There's nothing new in academics. There is nothing. But the ones who have done, how have they been able to put it into practice? How are we commercialize the innovations we find in universities? Go to all this college of school of agric, faculty of agric. You find projects on the shelf. They are innovations, fantastic results.
Why is the industry not engaging academia?
That's the system I'm talking about.
If the industry sees that this is a breakthrough, we can do this locally rather than bringing imported, material. We can get this locally, and we can insist that this is the standard we want. Why won't I invest in that?
That is the system I was talking about. That is the system we're talking about. You see, we don't have a structure. We don't have a system that works. Imagine, with all those things I've said about organic fertilizer, Nigeria still imports organic or liquid fertilizer abroad. We still import from abroad. We still import liquid fertilizer. We still import maybe organic fertilizer in different forms. But we have them abundantly locally. But people derive in just bringing everything to Nigeria. And that's the system. And that's the system we're talking about. Until we close up entirely. Anything we can produce in Nigeria, until we close our eyes and say we are not going to import anything
That you don't produce.
that we produce in Nigeria. That's the only way we can make it.
This boils down to visionary leadership.
Yes.
And that is usually political. Because if I have a great idea now, there's no way we're not going to make reference to the era of Obafemi Awolowo in the Western region. How many years is Obafemi Awolowo governed the Western region? And he has left landmarks over 60 years.
Exactly.
Awolowo, we are still
talking about him.
That's ridiculous. And they say he did this, he did that. What you guys that are saying Awolowo did this, what have you added to it? What value have you added to it? I recall that some of the laudable projects of Obafemi Awolowo, they were actually not his idea. But I think one hallmark of Obafemi Awolowo was that he was a leader. They said the man would sit at meetings, he would take notes, he would not interrupt anybody. When everybody is done, the man will now make his observation. But our leaders now, when they hold their meetings, like Ilo and Yoko, they are not listening to them. And then they get frightened. About the thing, we get up now and say we want to talk. The man will say, sit down. What are you saying? Without getting a clue as to where the man is going. Where do we get the leadership that we deserve? Because they say people get the kind of leaders that they deserve.
Exactly.
So where do we get that from?
The kind of society we have is the kind of leadership we have too. You can't give what you don't have. But let me give kudos to those Baba Awolowo days. You can discover that Awolowo surrounded himself with intellectuals.
Yeah.
I know that Awolowo would not have been able to make such an indelible impact were it not for the fact that he was surrounded with intellectuals.
He knew the place of intellectual.
Exactly.
He knew the place of politicians.
Exactly. I could remember the likes of Adebayo Adedeji, his friends, Olajide Aboyade, the kind of those intellectuals, those wonderful people, Ojetunde Aboyade, those are his friends. Onobaimiro. They will sit down at the right table conference and they begin to propound issues onto him. He will now honor. He will not undermine them. We still have such intellectuals around our vicinity, but we are not using them. We are not. I don't know why there's a difference or a distance between the political power and the intellectual power. You see, in the hierarchy of power, you have the celestial power, and that's the godly power. After godly power, you have the political power. After political power, we now have the economic power. Before the intellectual power, it's supposed to be the other way around. The intellectual power is the source.
The engine room.
Is the engine room.
Driving
political power. Henry Ford that developed
Ford industry
was not literate. That's intellectual power. To the extent that professors were now subjected to his own questioning. And what professors could not do, professors in quotes, this guy was able to manufacture, the vehicle, an automobile.
Because he was able to listen to them and process.
Of intellectuals. And that's where we have to go back to the basics. We need intellectual driven economy. Not just theory, not just people. I see people who have sound intellectual. We didn't go to school. We have not attended school. What are we doing with those resources? Most of these intellectuals are talking about, some might be in it, but we need a little of panel beating, correction with the intellectuals too. There's a talent, intellectual aspect. Now bring them together to form an innovation. We don't have an innovative system. All we are driven is the passion for ephemerals, money, material things. You can imagine what happened to Henry Ford. That company is still sustainable. It's the system we are talking about. You don't have the system in place. And when I was young, I used to help of this engineer, a mechanical engineer at University of Lagos. He developed an
Awojobi. Yeah.
He developed an automobile way back those days.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Where is the automobile developed by Awojobi? Where is the sustainability of his knowledge at that time? That's what we're talking about. The sustainability of the policies you have is not being reviewed to meet up with the challenge.
When General Gawan turned 90, a lot of interviews were granted. He granted it, and then some of the people that worked with him. And one of the people that worked with him was Philip Asiodo, the ones they call super permanent secretaries in those days. And he said that Gawan respected institutions. He allowed institutions, bureaucracy to function, and we had development plans. I remember too that we had rolling plants.
Yes.
And then I think it was in 1997, 1995 or 1996. And then we from rolling plants for 20 years,
yes,
broken down into five years.
Yes.
Then we started doing one year. But can that take us back?
You see, I don't want us to leave that subject of animal livestock or livestock industry. I'm of the opinion that we still need to go back to the drawing board. We still need to go back to where we came from. What went wrong? What went well? Let's start from what went well in the 1960s. Why are we not doing them? Then, what went wrong? How do you rectify it? One of those principles is that we should have the sustainable environment, whereby I will know that government is protecting my interest. Like in those days when you produce cocoa, cashew, you are sure
that will be off-taking.
I mean, that's the role of the government.
Regulator.
They will buy it at a price that it will keep you in business. They are left with the vicissitude of changes in prices, whether it's up or down. They will not allow you to feel it. That's the role of the marketing board. That's the role of the government, to take the shock and absorb. And with that, many, many people are into production.
When they are sure.
They are sure. That's the system I'm talking about.
That the rug will not be put from under their feet.
Of course. They know that this government is for them because it is our cocoa they are using to develop. And anybody selling cocoa will know that I'm in for profit. I cannot lose. Do we have similar for livestock? Whereby a body or a system will buy poultry, not minding what's my cost of production, and will pay me. It keeps me in business. Most poultry farmers are folding up now.
Why is that?
The feed. Feed is enormously high at almost 20%. I mean 20,000 naira for 25 kilogram bird. And the feed occupies about 80% cost of production. 80%.
In the days I worked with General Obasanjo and Obasanjo Farm, we used to have combined harvester. Does anyone have combined harvester anymore?
You see, you're talking of combined harvesting for harvesting of crops.
Yeah. Does anybody can afford that?
It's not even the affordability of the combined harvester will not work on acres of 1, 2, 3, 4.
They all go 50,
Exactly.
100.
Exactly. But where you have how many farmers or how many investors has that capacity of 100,000 or 1,000 acres of maize or cassava nowadays? Very few.
In the southwest.
Even in the southwest.
Somebody whose father is a farmer told me right here in this studio. He said, "Look, let us not deceive ourselves. It is the farmers who are engaged in subsistence farming that are feeding us." I was taken aback.
The guy is telling the truth.
Subsistence farmers.
It's the subsistence farming that is still keeping us. I have records. How many investors, I won't call them farmers again, has about 50 acres and above? I mean, having 500 acres and above. How many farmers have 1,000 hectares and above? Very few. But in a civilized, sane societies, these people will be given enough land for them to practice on their own.
We have a challenge with land, in this part of the world, Our attachment to land. It's a cultural thing. Is it a problem?
I think it's not a problem. It has to do with the policy of the government. If I venture, I'm owning the land, maybe ancestral land, family land, and I'm not using it, and I have about 1,000 hectares land and I'm not using, maybe they are far away in Germany and so on, and the land is still lying fallow in Okiogo, lying fallow in Ibarapa, and as an investor who want to invest in cassava production, invest in rice production, won't I have a structure, a system, whereby the person can at least lease the land for maybe 5 or 10 years to the advantage of the community?
Great advantage.
Great advantage. The land still belongs to the family. But that land, at that point in time, could be leased to a willing investor to come and plant maybe maize or cassava or rice for his profit. Excuse me. Those are the things we are talking about. The structure has to be there for an investor and the community to come to agreement under the PPP agreement. The public will be there, the government will be there to serve as
moderate.
Exactly, to serve as a guide, both to the investor and the community. While the investor is coming with his money and his technology to make money, while the community will serve as insurance, security, because of the involvement of the community, the investment will be protected. But if the community is not involved,
That's a difficult one.
that's why I still I'm a proponent of public-private partnership, especially in agribusiness, and that's how it can fly. Now, if you have about few of them coming together in that agribusiness space to produce, let's say, rice, and rice could now be taken to Lagos State for them to process into paddy. Yes, we're in business, and you cannot have a kind of finance house or a finance institution that could be developing other contract farmers to support the core investors into what you call contract farming, that you are producing for us 2 acres, 5 acres, so on. Instead of having more Okada people, you can have all those people. Within the time of production or time of processing, they can be engaged. That's how to work a system.
You talked so much about rabbitry as an example. Which other livestock can we, take advantage of in this?
I want to be modest. We have some other Noila and local boats.
Local boats?
Yes. Local.
Really?
Which we can also harness.
Our local boats?
Our local boats have their own innate, what I can call resistance to diseases. Resistance to disease. And with that, although they may have slow maturity rates, but their meat, wonderful. You can't compare a kind of meat that will have accident in the soup or in the pot, because I normally see that they have accidents. Within 3-4 days, they disintegrate. I call them accident in the pot. But you have this one that I relish tearing my meat. That's it.
Are people doing it?
They are still doing it. Look at people like me, like I said, still relish taking it.
And is it commercially viable?
That's what we're talking about. I don't know why we cannot support our indigenous products. Do you know that a local chicken have propensity to hatch 10, 20 chickens naturally? Yes. Naturally, without taking to hatchery or whatever. Naturally. And it can nurse it very well. If I have about maybe 50 farmers who are just engaged in that area, and I'll be harvesting every six months their production, the sky is the limit. And there is a market for it, either local market
That's
or
a delicacy.
is a delicacy. I prefer to buy a local chicken than the other one.
Oh, yeah.
At any price.
Oh yeah, I'm always weary of.
Exactly.
I'm always weary.
Because you don't need to give them all these vaccines. They thrive locally.
Yeah.
And all those vaccines, they have a lot of problem for us. We have cancer related to vaccines that are being given instead of allowing the wean period, withdrawal period. They will not. They will just sell it to the market. And that's how we have all this cancer, tumor, and the rest of them. Then back to your question. You see, I have cane rats, grass cutter. It's also a family of the rabbits,
Okay.
which at this time we can also propel. We can develop, grass cutter production.
The one they call Oya.
Oh yeah, and it's well. It's also a delicacy. It's also a very sweet delicacy, and is gradually going to be an endangered species. Almost going to extinction now because many people are not into it again.
Yeah, and have been killed massively on the Baden Road.
Exactly. But now there is a way you can culture or raise grass cutter domestically now, and we also have the technology too, whereby you reduce the cost of production as well as increase your profit. Also, because of my time, let's talk about the high price of protein supplements.
Yeah.
You now have what is called black soda fly larva, black soda fly larva. The larva from black soda that can be formed as important protein source for our livestock industry,
Okay.
either for poultry or for piggery and so on. But the technology itself, we need an investor, a serious-minded investor, to drive it into commercial quantity. We have researchers have done it in their miniature research institutions like you and the rest of them. But we need an investment content whereby the black soda lava, yes,
Public partnership.
Public-private partnership. It can even be a PPDP, public-private development partners that can come in to develop the technology. Yeah. All these are. I'm surprised when institutions like UI, FUNAB, and so on, they say they lack something. These are areas we can actually collaborate with donor agencies to fund research, to fund it and commercialize the result.
Commercialize it. That's one question I've been asking.
We need to commercialize.
We produce research, but why don't we market the research? I know UI has set up a marketing department for research outcomes now. I say, if you believe in what you are producing research-wise, why don't you market it aggressively?
Sure.
Sell it to industry.
Surely.
And I was told that UI has a marketing department in that regard. As we wrap this program off, what I'll be asking is, what will you be telling our listeners and viewers in terms of what they can do to earn money outside of what they currently do?
I must say that we're in challenging times, and we have to look inward. You have to reduce all your expenses, and increase your income. And one of the critical ways you can increase your income is by being an entrepreneur. Develop an investment in something, and you can develop into livestock industry very, very cheap. And at this time, we are just, based on what I've said before, choose an enterprise in livestock industry that you can develop: poultry, piggery, rabbitry, sheep and goat, and so on. May I end up by saying that sheep and goat for now could be developed, whereby you can raise sheep and goat at even at commercial level.
They have milk too. They have their own milk too.
You can have milk from sheep and goats too. And I can want to say that cattle or dairy animals can also be raised even in the house at homestead level. Somewhere in Kenya, Uganda, we have homestead household dairy animals. You have 2 or 3 animals, and that 3 animal is able to sustain the income of the farmer. These are the kind of structure, the kind of policies that we can begin to bring in now. Just have a dairy animal, and 1 liter of milk at least should not be less than 500 naira now.
It should be more than that.
Exactly.
I grew up in Ibadan with the Ministry of Agriculture green kiosk, green and white kiosk.
Okay.
I remember one particular one that was in front of the court in the Olubado side. That's what we will call fresh milk.
Fresh milk.
But times have changed.
Times have changed. Policies have changed.
Times have changed.
Policies have changed.
I keep asking myself, I mean, are those visions, were they aborted? Were they killed? The people who come after them, did they ask questions? What was the vision? What was the vision of those who established these things? You understand? Did they not ask questions? You just come and say, let's do this, let's do that, without asking questions.
I think for me, any generation has its own leader, but there's no succession program. There's no succession program. If I'm leaving my office, or I'm leaving my establishment, do I have any succession plan? Who will take over from me? No. There should be a succession. You know you are not born in that position. You just came to that position by chance. And there are thousands of people that can be in that position. God has been so magnanimous to be there at that point in time. The fact that you are there, please start thinking of who you are going to handle. Exactly. You must have a succession plan. You must have a succession strategy.
People have succession plans, but the motive driving the plan is another matter.
Oh, that would be terrible. If you are a success, there is no success without a successor.
Yeah, that's actually
there is
the real
no success.
That's the real success.
Without a successor.
That is the real success.
I told you of Henry Ford.
Yeah.
The guy has died.
Yeah, but it continues.
The same thing with Coke.
Yeah.
Pepsi.
Yeah.
These are brands that have successor.
People with their eye on the future.
Exactly, we should have. After Dangote, who's next?
After Dangote,
We'll start asking ourselves.
After Dangote, who is next? That's a big one. You said that. Yes, thank God we have Dangote. But after Dangote, who is next?
Who's next?
Wow, that one is a really touching one. Well, we are in Oyo State. We are the highest producer of cassava nationwide. We have some companies. Are we making the best of it?
Sure. I think for that cassava, we are doing pretty well. I must say we are doing very fine. I don't want to mention names. The big players in the cassava value chain, they are doing very well. But I'm of the opinion that the kind of production we have cannot meet up the expectation again. Yeah. The farmers cannot meet up with their demand again.
Wow. So,
and that's why the cassava is on a high price now. Yeah.
Rather than grow production. Because that's business for the value chain people.
That's what I'm saying. That we need to re-engineer our thinking. That we need more people into production again.
You know, these are strategic planning, research and development.
I get it. And that's why I said information should not be static. At that time when they came into the industry, there was so much of cassava. Yeah. But now we now discover that 1 or 2 players coming into cassava value chain as mop up. Yeah. And now cassava price is risen. It's a demand and supply thing.
Yeah.
And pay off to farmers.
Yeah. But it can also injure and hurt their own business.
No, farmers are laughing now. Farmers are enjoying now.
But the demand by those who are in the value chain end is going to be hurting them. They have to pay more.
Who are those being hurted now?
The one in the industry that is mopping up the cassava.
The industry are also making money.
But their cost of production will be going up.
The industry are selling in dollars too. The industries, they should be fair to us. They are selling
Producing in naira, selling in dollars.
Faster. That's the concept now. If you are not selling dollars, you are nowhere.
You are laboring. May we not labor in vain.
Amen.
Well, in the past 3 minutes or thereabout, I've been in a very, very insightful and deep conversation with my guest this afternoon. He has given us a lot of illumination in the agribusiness and agriculture. Enough of lamentations. We love to lament, and we can do better than that. We can think. A friend of mine will say, "You worry. Are you thinking?" Worrying is not the same as thinking. Worrying will compound the problem. Worrying is equal to lamentation.
No solution.
I said, think rather than worry. Think. So rather than worry and lament every day, I hear people say obnoxious things about Nigeria, which I have no interest in repeating, opening my mouth to repeat anywhere. We can do better for ourselves. The scripture says, "What is in your hand?" It doesn't mean what is physically in your hand like this. What may be a gift that God has given you. There is no man born of a woman created by God that does not have it. Identify it and pursue it passionately. I know in this business that I am, it is passion that is driving me, and that is why it cannot fail, because it is passion driven. When it is passion driven, everything that looks like a stumbling block to those who are profit oriented will look like a stepping stone. Dr. Adidayo Shosina.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Of course, an agribusiness specialist. And he has given us, of course, this is not going to be a one-off thing. It is something that I think at least once in a quarter we should do this. I hope you will grant that indulgence.
Thank you so much.
From the end of, educating. The information you have given out today, especially about rabbit. I mean, I'm sure some people will have thought, will be thinking of it, and make Nigeria succeed. Yeah. Thank you very much. God bless you, Mr. Bonner.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a wrap on Pendulum this Sunday afternoon. It's been DJ Ajishopo presenting, and of course, my producer has been Damola Lafenwa. Do have a most fruitful week. God bless you all. Nigeria won't die.